Hello, dear test takers. I'm back again, and today we have two questions. Yes, that's what my student has sent me and asked me to help him around. And if you're one such who's also struggling with this particular question, then yes, this video session is absolutely tailor-made for you. So stay tuned, keep watching this video, and also make sure that you subscribe so you'll get more such, uh, like question solution videos. Okay. All right. So let's get this started. Before that, here's your question. In heated debate in biogeography, the field is divided between dispersalists and vixarianists. Okay. Blank, there are those who argue that dispersalist is the most crucial determining factor in species distribution, and those who insist that vicariance, that's okay, not needed to read all that, is okay, there ends. Biogeographers, okay, counts herself amongst neither. Wow, pretty much of thick literature. Guys, all you just have to remember is read the sentence till the end. Okay, your job is to read the sentence till the end. So a little more about this transition questions is you might get a blank just before a sentence, or you might get a transition blank between two sentences. Okay, or you might be asked with the blank that has to be filled with the transition word, like let's say at the end of the sentence. So a transition can be placed anywhere, maybe in the beginning, between, or at the end. Your job, what is your job? Your job is to read the sentence till the end. Why? To determine the relationship between the two sentences, That's exactly what a transition word does. What does it do? Its job is to connect. Its job is to connect two sentences, and that's how it gives a clarity to the reader. It connects two sentences, and transition relationships are like there are three categories, and one of that is continuers. What are continuers? They're like addition of or adding information or addition of information. Let's say the author has spoke some point and he wants to add a little more to that previous idea. So he will be adding a transition word like in addition to or additionally. And also to add to this, right? And there are some of those continuers. And let's also, get to know. There's one more transition. Yes, if you remember, contrast. Yes, contrast. What are contrast transitions? Transitions are like but, however, uh, you have though, although, right? So something, the sentence A speaks about something, while sentence B is opposite. Opposite idea. Okay, contrasting idea. If you want to stay the other portion, the later part of the passage is speaking about an idea that is opposite to what's been spoken in the previous portion of the sentence, then you'll be thinking about opposite transitions. Got it? And how about cause and effect? Cause and effect transitions, what do they do? For example, there is something that happened, hence this has to be taken. That means we have the because transition, or so, or let's say as. Basically, you're giving a reason. Got it? So these are the three categories that you have to remember once you have identified the sentences that, okay, part one of the passage is talking about this, sentence one is this, sentence two is this, and I see that either the author or the writer is trying to add something, contrast something, or he's trying to tell about a cause and an effect of something. So based on that, you have to choose your answers. All right. Now choosing your answers, you have to work on the elimination technique. As you already established the relationship, you have predicted some a word that fits, that can be plugged in this answer blank. So as per your prediction, you can go to the options and then you can look for what really fits to your prediction and then choose your answers. Now let's work on this. In a heated debate, so it's basically two parts. There are two groups, I think, debate. Whenever there is debate, it's understandable that there are two groups, especially in this field, biogeography. The field is divided between, oh, they're divided, all right, between this dispersalists and these two people. So we have this and this, okay. Here starts your blank. Blank, there are those who argue that dispersal is the most crucial data. Okay, so what do they want to tell is, so there are two groups. We have two groups. Let me text this. There are two groups who are debating, right? And what are they debating? That they're arguing that uh, the so-called, so one group is the one who have this ideology that they think that dispersal is most crucial, okay? And what about the other part? And others who are the vicarians? These vicariances, what do they think? They are thinking that no, it is our, no, what they believe, their idea is correct. Okay. So with respect to the species distribution, this dispersalists are believing that dispersal is most crucial part factor, while on the contrary, when on the opposite, you have these people saying, no, our way of thinking is correct. They believe that separation due to geographic barriers, they have another set of ideas. So we basically see that there is some contrast here happening, ain't it? So one section is saying this, another section is saying that. So we find some contrast, isn't it? Some contrary thoughts. So what do you think? Huh? Right? So wait a minute, but we can't just simply identify that. Here you're seeing that in a heated debate in biogeography, the field is divided between dispersalists and vicarious. Blank, there are those who are argue. So what do you think, blank? Furthermore is something that is used. When do we use furthermore? Furthermore is for adding. But here we don't find anything to add. Do you think it's we are trying to add something over here? Not really, right? So we are trying to see, this is indication of addition. So we are not adding anything, right? There is no adding point over here. Now, moving on, by contrast. So by contrast, this choice uses a disagreement. This choice, it mentions about some disagreement, right? Here there is no disagreement. They are just mentioning there are two groups. Basically, what are these two groups? They're arguing about dispersal is the most crucial determining factor. And another group is saying that no, it's about the separation due to geographic barriers is the reason behind the so-called phenomenon. So that's not by contrast. So by contrast, these are those who argue, no, they are not by contrast. So this choice is not a disagreement transition, but this sentence actually, instead is actually it's clarifying. Don't you think this sentence is clarifying something? It's trying to emphasize more on what's been said here, right? Isn't it? Got it? So there are two groups who are debating on our ideology is correct. Another group is saying, no, this is the reason why. But though it sounds like contrast, but it's not contrast. This blank identifies, if you read this part, the later part, you'll find that whatever they are divided and all that. It's more elaboration on that. There are those who argue, because they're already arguing, we all have this heated debate, right? And they're divided also between two ideologies of their own. So, and on top of this, this so-called, this is irrelevant though, because we only have to look at the subject of blank, before the blank and after the blank. So B definitely is not our answer. Similarly, when do we say similarly? Yes, similarly, well, it's again agreeing point. Similarly is like you're trying to agree or you're trying to add something, right? Which doesn't fit to our blank. So furthermore, there are those who argue, no, not at all. By contrast, there are those who argue, no. Similarly, there are those who argue similarly means you're adding a point, which is not true. Now, let's look at choice D. That is, So what is this that is doing here? What is this choice? If you read the first sentence, which tells us that already this so-called field, biogeography field, is divided by these two people. There are two camps, okay? There are two groups or two camps. And this sentence, and this is this is like now more about telling that, giving us more clarity that what are these two camps actually telling us, okay? So that is, there are those who argue, so little more elaboration on who are these dispersalists and vicarious. This is like that is, and we are getting more clarity, like just not naming them, but who are these? What do they do? What ideologies they have? So that is, there are those who argue that dispersal is the most crucial determining factor in the species distribution, and those who insist that vicariance and all this thought process. Okay. So it is that is not furthermore, by contrast, similarly, it is, the answer is D. Am I clear? With this understanding that you read the sentence till the end, try to determine the relationship between these two sentences, and then think about those three categories of transition words: continuous, contrasts, and cause and effects. Finally, you have to make a prediction. If your prediction is, one of your prediction matches to those, one of the answer choices, you can simply eliminate those words which are not matching to your prediction. Okay. It's always good to plug in and read, but sometimes it's good to also make such kind of predictions and match to the options given and so on. Okay. So reading the sentences before the blank and after the blank is very important. Now let's move on to another question. Right. Iraqi artist Nazik al-Malaika, celebrated as the first Arabic poet to write in free verse, didn't reject traditional forms entirely. Okay, this sounds very important point for us. So she didn't reject some traditional forms entirely. Her poem, Elegy for Women of No Importance, consists of two 10-line stanzas. Okay, this is about the description part of this traditional of her writing. And standard number of syllables. Okay. Even in this superficial, okay, even in this means we're still talking about this. She has followed some traditional format in her poem. And in even in this also, Al Malaika was breaking new. Okay, sounds interesting. Somewhere new is opposite of traditional forms. So she was breaking new ground by memorializing an enormous anonymous women rather than famous men. Okay, too much of information which will mislead us. So what I'm looking at is new and traditional. So basically what I see here is, from my annotating. I've been annotating some of the important words. I'm underlining them and circling them. So this gives me a hint. What is the hint? How do I read this? How do I understand this? Right? What fits into this blank? To understand this, let's understand that we have something like, if I have to boil down to my summary, there's traditional versus new. Okay, there are two opposite things that's been spoken. She is following some traditional forms, uh, entirely. She didn't reject traditional forms entirely. And on top of this, she was also breaking new grounds by doing this memorializing and all these things. So we have, what do you feel? So there is like one set is traditionally she's following in her writing, and also some new things are also being noticed in her Arabic poem. So uh, what really fits? So as per this summary, what can we understand? In fact, let's see with in fact. In fact is like, when do we say in fact? In fact is used generally to introduce additional information. Okay. Probably you said something in section, sentence A says something, and you want to emphasize or introduce a new information. But this is not about new information, right? This is like the traditional versus new. So we have something versus something. Versus means something contrast, right? So in fact, really doesn't fit to a requirement here. So we will cross this out, because in fact is used when we are introducing an additional information. So A doesn't fit over here. Now, what about though? Okay, we'll come back to this. Therefore, when we say therefore is a term or a transition that indicates logical consequence, right? So therefore is used for, when do we use? For cause and effect. But here there is no cause to say that this is the result, right? Therefore, hence, right? So that's not what we need here in this blank. Moreover is an add-on. I mean, like you want to add a new point, then you would use this a new information to strengthen or reinforce the previous point. But there is no such thing like you're adding a new point over here. We are still talking about her work that has traditional forms as well as something new in it. So, pretty contrasting, right? So, it clearly reflects towards though. Though, so let's read it. Didn't reject traditional form entirely. Her poem Elegy for Women of No Importance consists of two 10-line stanzas and standard number of syllables. That's sentence one. Even in the superficial, this means we are still talking about the so-called poem. Even in the superficially traditional work, though Al-Malaika was breaking new grounds, even though she's doing some sort of newness into it, but still she followed this traditional forms, okay? So, her writing still has this traditional forms. So though perfectly fits to our requirement. So option B is what you have to mark. So students, remember one thing, transition questions, though they are difficult for the first time, but as you understand the rule, always read the sentence till the end. Try to determine the relationship between the two sentences. Now look out, now think about which transition fits to the relationship that was being established in your own summary, right? You summarized it. You make your own notes. Never, like I've seen students doing this, they don't use annotations or circle them or highlight those words, big words that actually give you all the clues. And those clues have to be converted into your comprehension, your logical thinking, and understanding what fits to this particular requirement. Clear? Now, that's all from me, and I hope you got it. If you have any more questions, put that in the comment section. If you understood this particular explanation, do let me know. I'll be more than happy to help you with all your SAT reading and writing questions. Don't miss to like, share, and subscribe so that you get all new videos with the practice questions. Bye for now.